Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiast. Well, as we speak, or at least as the taping of this program, Frankfurt Motor Show is going on as we speak, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming out of there. And let's get started with some of that stuff. Remember when we showed off this particular drawing several shows ago, the brand new C-X17 concept from Jaguar, and then only a handful of days later, bam, it hit the interwebs, the brand new pictures of the automobile, way ahead of the Frankfurt Motor Show itself. Now comes the real weird part. Jaguar's not building this vehicle, which is starting to fuel the rumors that maybe Land Rover and Jaguar are fighting over who builds SUVs and who builds crossovers, who builds the cars. Because Jaguar is showing this off as a brand new aluminum monocoque architecture that's going to go into a next-gen sedan, a brand new sedan that is, for 2015. Why didn't they show off a sedan? That seems kind of weird to me. Now, the new architecture does mean lighter weight, which is going to improve performance and improve the whole dynamics of the automobile, not to mention the fuel economy. They're also already talking about that new 2015 sedans going to have an array of brand new four-cylinder engines from gasoline to diesel. So, sure are talking a lot about that sedan, but this isn't it. Weird situation. Another weird situation, Bugatti showing off that teaser picture of what they were going to show off at Frankfurt, and this is the car. Yeah, it wasn't anything new or great, but it is the Yon Bugatti edition, which is another special edition. How many special editions of Bugatti have made? Nonetheless, this thing still has the W16, actually quad turbocharged 1200 brake horsepower engine, so it's not totally terrible, but boy, we were really hoping for something a lot better. Nonetheless, BMW is showing off this brand new vehicle, their brand new production version of the i8. And I tell you what, I've been reading about this car for months and have had absolutely no interest in it whatsoever. Till the production version came along, and I think it's pretty doggone good looking. Not to mention it's got the big gull-wing doors, a little esque of the 12C from McLaren. Pretty slick piece, and it's going to be in the production version. Now, let's talk about the meat and potatoes part of this vehicle. It comes with a 1.5 liter, 3-cylinder gasoline engine that's mated up with an electric helper engine. And this thing's going to make some serious smoke. 392 brake horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque. And it's going to be mated up to a brand new 6-speed automatic gearbox. Now the vehicle supposedly will do 0 to 62 in 4.4 seconds. And because it's a plug-in hybrid, this vehicle will have a 22 miles on electric-only mode. Not to mention it'll do 310 miles of range, which isn't too shabby when it comes to one of these vehicles. Now we have official pricing and a production date, or at least a date where you can get your grubby hands on one of these vehicles. In the U.S. market, this thing will be coming in the spring of 2014. Which, if my calculations are correct, that's not very far away. Starting price on this vehicle in the U.S. market will be $135,925 US. Next up on the list, well, crosstown rivals for BMW. Audi showed off this vehicle, flew under the radar. Nobody knew this thing was coming, and bam, here it is, the Audi Nanuk concept. Now, this vehicle looks somewhat off-roadish like, which it does have a complete air ride suspension in it, which actually you can adjust the ride height of this vehicle 1.5 inches top to bottom. So if you need more ground clearance, apparently you got another 1.5 inches. Now let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this vehicle. This thing has a mid-mounted 5-liter twin turbocharged V10 diesel. Now before you shut this video off and go, oh gosh, it's a diesel? Listen to the power numbers this thing's putting out. 550 brake horsepower and 750 pounds-feet of torque. Yeah, this thing could haul the whole Motor Cars HQ down the street to a better neighborhood, maybe. Not a bad piece of kit, but it'll be interesting to see if this thing will ever see production. My chances are it won't, but I bet you may see that V10 come into production, maybe in something high-end. We'll wait and see what comes of this vehicle when it comes about later on. Next up on the list, I don't know if you remember this particular automobile. This was the Mazda Furai concept. And the Furai actually was the first start of that fluidic design language that Mazda's using on all its automobiles as we speak. And I thought it was just gorgeous to boot. This thing had a rotary engine that was putting out 450 brake horsepower. And just an absolute gorgeous looking piece. Well, some pictures have hit the interweb over the past several days and shows this, which you see half of it being a perfectly normal Furai and then the other side being a crispy one. Apparently, Top Gear magazine was testing this and it caught fire and burnt to the ground. Now for the weirdest part of this story, it caught fire in 2008. 2008? What the... Why? How did Mazda and Top Gear keep this a secret for so doggone long? It's an interesting thing to me. Could there have been a lawsuit? Maybe we'll hear more about this in the future, but it is an absolute shame that this car is no longer here. Next up on the list, Mercedes has been showing off the brand new S-Class Coupe. Could this be the next CL? Maybe. Now, Mercedes already has come out and said that this thing is a concrete version of what their next two-door sedan is going to be. So, or should I say two-door coupe, not two-door sedan. Now, that being said, the vehicle has a quite interesting interior that is wave designed to make it look like rolling waves. Yeah, I can see that a little bit. The vehicle is rear-wheel drive, not to mention this thing will have a twin turbocharged V8 putting out 455 brake horsepower, so it's pretty doggone powerful to boot. And it has a pretty slick deal where it has individual cameras that actually survey the road and check for weather conditions and adjust the suspension accordingly. That's kind of cool stuff. Kind of the stuff you kind of expect from Mercedes. So we'll see what comes of this concept in the future. Apparently we'll see a lot of it if it's a concrete design. Next up on the list, the Porsche 918, as we're seeing a production version of this vehicle on the show at Frankfurt, but they've got a little bit more bragging to talk about, as they're going to talk about a lap record. Now, let's talk about this vehicle in all its glory. 4.6 liter V8, putting out 608 brake horsepower and 391 pounds-feet of torque. That's made it up with a 115 kilowatt engine, putting in another 154 brake horsepower, which brings us to a grand total of 887 brake horsepower and 904 pounds-feet of torque. That is mated to a brand new 7-speed PDK gearbox, and the vehicle will supposedly do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds with a top speed of 211 miles an hour. Now, we have official pricing on this automobile, as it will be sold at Porsche dealerships very, very soon. Will be coming in at 781,155 euros or 845,000 US dollars. Now, let's get down to that record. This thing has just lapped the Nürburgring Nordschleife loop, and I put this on the Motor Cars Enthusiasts Facebook page. The video is up as we speak if you want to check it out. But this thing lapped the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife loop, the North Loop, in 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Remember when we talked about that whole McLaren thing wanting to go sub 7 minutes? Well, they've already got a little rival from Porsche. It's already accomplished it, so your turn, McLaren. Pretty slick piece, and hopefully we get to see this on U.S. highways very, very soon. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiast. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. We've also got a deal where you can subscribe to the channel and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.